Greetings! Today we have a bit of a different type of video for you all, and that I sort of wanted to talk a little bit about the future of the channel and Morrowind Modding Showcases. Now, a lot of you may not realize this, but Morrowind Modding Showcases, and really all the videos on this channel for that matter, take a lot of time and money to produce, at time especially. The average amount of time in terms of development hours it takes to produce a single episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases is roughly 25 hours, while an episode of Oblivion Modding Showcases takes about 20 to 22 hours, though again we haven't really done a whole lot of those yet, so that average is still a bit variable, but the point is that's a lot of time it takes to produce videos, and you guys can actually help me a bit on that front, and I'll explain more in a minute. But first, the other thing that I wanted to talk about today is the cost of the channel. Now, most of you probably don't know this, but Morrowind Modding Showcases has been running at a deficit since its inception in July of 2014. It costs more money to run the channel than we get back in terms of ad revenue, and that's always been the case. This month marks the roughly 20th month of operation for Morrowind Modding Showcases, and we've lost money in every single one of those months. To break it down, Morrowind Modding Showcases cost about $22 a month, not a huge amount certainly, and to further break it down, $9 of that is for the video editor, which is actually on the cheaper end of things. Most video editors these days are about $20 a month, so $9 a month actually isn't that bad. And $3 is for the TeamSpeak server, where we host interviews and podcasts, and $10 is for web hosting for the channel's website, and we also use that web hosting for sharing project files related to ModTown 2015, and hopefully other community projects going into the future once ModTown is complete. In comparison, we make on average between $5 and $7 a month in ad revenue, which barely covers anything. Ad revenue really doesn't bring in much money at all, and the channel's only been monetized for about 10 months now, so possibly some of that is simply because we waited a really long time to turn on advertising, and of course we don't monetize every video. In fact, most of our videos aren't monetized, like the interviews, most of the trailers, and mod-specific videos like the Morrowind Rebirth Showcase, as well as the Morrowind Modding Tutorials video, and a lot of the reason for that is simply because I don't really feel comfortable profiting off the works of others. Trailers and interviews are meant to help promote and celebrate the works of modders, and in the case of the tutorials video, I really wanted that to be easy to access. I want people to be able to get the information they need to install mods for Morrowind without having to go through a 30-second ad or having an annoying display ad pop up right in an important segment when they're trying to figure out how to do something. But in any event, the point is we spend a lot more on the channel than it brings in each month, and that doesn't even take into account all the startup costs for equipment, like mics and pop filters and things like that. And with all these costs, it's just really not feasible at this point to do any major equipment upgrades. I know a lot of you want me to improve the frame rate in my videos, for example, and given the fact that Morrowind runs on a single core of the processor, there's only a few things I can do to improve it really, like getting a solid-state drive, for example, for running the game on, because currently I actually run the game off of an external hard drive, which does actually do a little bit of a hit to the FPS there, and probably some more RAM would help as well, but I don't think a new graphics card, for example, would really do much, though I could be mistaken on that front. I don't really know exactly what would improve Morrowind's performance the most, but in any event, all that new equipment costs hundreds of dollars, and that's just not happening with the channel's current monthly loss. So that's why I finally decided to set up a Patreon account for the channel to accept donations, since some of you were asking about that anyway, and actually one of you already donated some money last year to help cover the expenses of our first Morrowind Marathon Month competition, which was really pretty awesome for you to do. And I've also set up a PayPal account for those who'd prefer to donate that way. But going back to Patreon, a lot of you probably already know what that is, but basically it's a monthly donation service where you can pledge to make as little as a $1 a month donation, which is awesome for helping keep the channel funded. Really, if just 22 of you decided to pitch in $1 each month, that would immediately put an end to the channel's money issues, and anything extra would just go towards finally getting some new equipment, and maybe even a better video editor at some point, since the one I currently have is on the cheaper end, and it doesn't have a lot of the fancy effects that something like Adobe, for example, can provide. Now, obviously, I can't really offer you guys much for donating, but for Patreon donators, I'd be happy to listen to any suggestions you guys might have for new video series ideas. So actually, I would probably do that anyway, even if you didn't donate anything. So how about this? I'll give Patreon subscribers some early looks at a few pilot episodes for new series, and you guys will get to decide which, if any of those new video series, will make it onto the channel. I do have a lot of ideas for potential video series expansion, and my goal is to eventually get the channel up to a production rate of 1 video a day. But anyway, if you're at all interested in helping out the channel, you can find a link to our Patreon page and our PayPal link down in the video description below, and hopefully we'll be able to keep producing more and better content going into the future. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the time it takes to create the Morrowind Modding Showcases videos, and how you guys can help get those videos out a lot faster. On average, as I mentioned before, it takes about 25 hours to produce a single episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases, and generally about 22 hours for an episode of Oblivion Modding Showcases, and also about 10 hours for interviews and 6 hours for trailers. In regards to showcases, a lot of that time is spent getting video footage, video editing, and audio narration. Usually at least 3 to 4 hours is purely audio narration alone. But another important aspect of creating each episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases is mod research, and that takes a lot of time. Typically, for every 13 mods that we showcase in an episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases, there's 4 mods that were rejected, and for themed episodes, the average is actually about twice that, which means there's about 8 mods for themed episodes that get rejected from that episode. That means that I'm spending a lot of time looking at mods that have to be downloaded, played through, only to ultimately get rejected from being showcased in an episode, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes a mod is just of a really poor quality, other times it has way too many game-breaking problems, or could lead to serious save game corruption, or the author just forgot to include some important files like models and textures, resulting in the mod only partially working. And really, going through and testing and researching all these mods takes a huge amount of time, especially for themed episodes. So from now on, I'm going to be announcing episode themes in advance, and if you guys could just take the time to recommend some mods along with what themes or categories they might fit into, that would really help speed up video production by a lot and help get us back on track for weekly releases. And this would also be a great way to help out the channel without donating anything other than a little bit of time. And you can actually find a link to our Morrowind Modding Showcases forums in the video description below, and you can just post mod suggestions on our website there. And anyway, that's just all I wanted to talk to you guys about. Thanks for listening and for watching the channel for all this time. Morrowind Modding Showcases has achieved far more success than I ever imagined that it would when we first opened doors in July of 2014, and I hope we can continue to grow and expand the channel with your help for years to come, providing video promotion and showcases for mods of all kinds and helping to give modders the attention they deserve.